previous 3 sessions. Today's session is about business unit strategies. Friends, this business unit strategies are divided into 2 parts. One is mission and one is the competitive advantage. The business unit mission is always different than the organization mission. 2 of the most widely used planning model for the business unit mission is Boston Consulting Group's 2x2 growth strategy matrix and GE matrix. And one more after this we will study is Porter's 5 force theories. So let us look at the first one, that is Boston Group. This analysis starts with the on x-axis it is a relative market share and on the y-axis it is market growth rate. This is divided into 4 parts. One is a question mark, second is stars, third is cash cow, and fourth is dog. When there is market growth rate is high and relative market share is also high, it means your business is in stars. It's growing rapidly. When your relative market share is low and your market growth rate is also low, it means you are dogs. You need to divest, you need to invest somewhere else. The third is cash cow. Normally, if you look at, you have 4 business units, say ball pen, sketch pen, ink, and refill. So maybe your ball pen unit is generating cash regularly because it's a fast moving product. And hence this cash cow will help other 3 divisions of a business unit of an organization. And the fourth one is question mark, where we don't know. Like for example, in this question mark, you have a relative market share is very low, but market growth rate is high. So when market growth rate is high and you have very low rate of market share, it means you need to ask a question whether I should continue with this business. This is what the business consulting group model is telling us. Second model is GE electric planning model, where we have the x-axis as business unit strength and the y-axis as market attractiveness. Let us take 2 extreme examples. If your market attractiveness is high and your market unit strength is also high, it means you need to invest. If your market attractiveness is low and your business unit strength is also low, it means you need to divest. It means you need to go somewhere else. If both the axes are on a medium part, it means you need to protect your business. You need to protect your business very well, because anytime it may have either a market attractiveness on a lower side or on a business unit strength on a lower side. Another theory is 5 forces model by Porter's. Here I'll give you only 1 or 2 examples because it is very vast. It is divided into 5 parts: supplier's power, then buyer's power, barriers to entry, threat of substitute, and a degree of rivalry. The more there is a barriers to entry, for example, capital investment requirement, the less there is a rivalry entry. The more there is a supplier power, then there is a high chances of entries. The more is a buyer power, buyer information, you need to work very high. And if you have a threat of substitute on a higher side, either on a raw material side or on a buyer side, then there is a degree of rivalry will be very high. So entry barriers, exit barrier, then industry growth, then switching cost, brand loyalty, diversity of rivals, corporate stakes will all will have an impact on this business while you read through the Porter's 5 forces model. This is just, I have divided into some theoretical part which you can read it later. Then we have a generic competitive advantage. This is divided into 4 parts. 1, cost differentiation advantage. Second, differentiation advantage. Third, low cost advantage. And fourth, stuck in the middle. X-axis shows a relative cost position and the Y-axis shows relative differentiation position. If both the place, X-axis and Y-axis, if you look at extreme higher side, superiority will be there. You have a differentiation advantage. If there is a relative cost position is on a lower side and a relative differentiation is on a higher side, there will be a cost come differentiation advantage. We'll see some examples over here. The first example is of the low cost. The cost leadership can be achieved through approaches like economies of scale, experience curve effect, and the cost minimization. We have a Parle Glucose example, Dell Computer example, where the cost is very low, but their approach and their reach is very high in the market. Second is differentiation. In this, the primary focus is to differentiate the product by offering and creating something that is perceived by the customer as being unique. We have the right example in front of us: Coca-Cola, Pepsi, HP in electronics, Motorola in communication, Mercedes and Montblanc in pens, Rolex in wristwatches. So this, the moment you have something niche, unique thing, then the people will buy it or procure it even though the cost is on a higher side, because you are providing something, a differentiation of the product. Another thing is we need to understand the goal congruence. Senior management wants the organization to attain the organizational goal, whereas a member of the organization, they will always concentrate on the personal goals. There is always a fight between the personal goal and the organizational goal. This is called as a goal congruence. Going forward to the goal congruence, the perfect congruence between the individual goal and organizational goal, it never exists. The obvious reason is that individual usually want as much compensation as they can get, whereas the organization viewpoint, there is an upper limit to salary. This is very crucial to understand how there is a differentiation between the goal of a personal as well as the organization, and there is a perfect congruence is required, but it never exists in the organization. Both the formal system and the informal system is affecting this goal congruence. Now we are going through some factors of the goal congruence, which is influencing. It is divided into the two parts, formal as well as the informal. The formal factors are strategic plans, budgets and reports, because the managers will have to adhere about this particular formal factors while they are working in the organization. Then we have informal factors where work ethics will come into picture, the management style and the culture of the organization. Similarly, we have external factors as well as the internal factors. The external factors are, it is a desirable behavior that exists in the society, because it is personal behavior will always have upper hand over the organizational behavior. Then the work ethics will also affect the goal congruence. Employees' loyalty to the organization. Some are more loyal, some are not loyal. It also depends. The more loyal person will sometimes, they may sacrifice about their personal goals and they will focus on the organizational goal. Their diligence and their spirit in working, their pride in doing the good job. These are the two factors which is affecting the goal congruence. We have internal factors. These are organizational cultures or climate, management style. If there are participative style of a management, then goal congruence will not have much gap. But there is an authoritative style, then the goal congruence will have a very good gap. The formal organization, perception, then communication and cooperation. These are also having the much impact on the goal congruence. There is last four control systems which is affecting the goal congruence. One is the formal rules and regulations. You have, you're like people in organization have a standing instruction, SOPs, practices, job descriptions, code of ethics. These are affecting the goal congruence. Then we have a physical controls like security guard checking you whenever you are coming inside, or there are locked storerooms and the computer passwords, and you have to entry and exit, punching, etc. These are the physical controls are affecting the goal control. The more you are try to control physically or by rules, the lesser is the personal interest you may find. Sometimes there is a reverse way also. It is a point of debate, but as of now, theoretically, this is what we can understand. Manuals, detailed rules and steps to maintain the same. Then we have a system safeguards, cross checks, authorization, password, etc. There also you will have checks and balances, physical checks. Then this also will affect the goal computer. Friends, today, as of now, we are ending with the fourth session of our FPCS, Financial Planning and Management Control Systems. We will be coming with you in the fifth lecture with some other thing, which is known as a Responsibility Center. Thank you very much, friends.